Hey traders, my weekend video. Please like my video if you like it, and retweet me on Twitter at Gumby9662C if you get a chance. So what I'm looking at here on my weekend video, guys. So I know I got a little bit of garbage on my chart here, but this is my overall theme in the markets right now. So bottom line is our main support in our trend, believe it or not, is down here on this trend line right here. Okay, that's our main overall theme support. Okay, and that puts us right here on our support. Okay, so if we have that, let me go down here on a 30-minute here so you can see what will happen here. So Friday, what we did, we hit the top of that channel and bounced off, which is not necessary. That is not really good support. What we want to be looking at here is the 3650 area, okay, for our support. So we have an initial bounce, and that's all it is, off of that critical support. So basically what happened Friday, despite the fact Citadel wasn't even really working early Friday morning, let's see what time was that. We ended up having an afternoon sell-off once they got things up and going. So I do want to point that out. Early on Friday morning, a lot of the electronic trading wasn't working. But after they got the Citadel up and going again, then sell side activity did commence. So be mindful of that scenario that the algos were sitting waiting for the system to get up going to reinitiate sell side activity Friday. So be mindful of that in your trading this week. Okay, so bottom line is we have a 3650 is our ultimate target. That's our major trend support. That's our ultimate target right now, at least. Okay, and so keep that in mind going forward here. So bottom line, we have uh, lower implied volatility for this week, expected move for this week, and I think it has a lot to do with I call these pivot points. Early part of this year, I had fib arcs drawn out for the first part of the year up at this price point, and we have uh, migrated lower, in my opinion, on our pivot in the markets. And what main takeaway I got going on here, if you put a little box, you see the top of this arc right here. If I put a rectangle on this, let me show you guys the top and bottom of that rectangle. Okay, and what's going on here? The top and bottom. Okay, so what happened was here on the daily time frame, we just got decimated. They looked above outside of my fib arc, just absolutely said, no, we ain't doing that. And since from that point on, we just have sell side action in the markets. Okay, so we are trading in this current volatility box. Okay, uh, with a possibility of now, since we are testing top of this channel here and seeing how we tend to overshoot this channel in the past, the odds seem to be favoring that we're going to come down to the bottom of this channel and do another test of the bottom of the volatility box. So that puts us down to 37.26 area. So we're only expecting about an 80 point move in the markets this week. That puts us down to 3,800. Okay, so in that scenario, we're going to have 2 times the expected move this week. If we were to achieve that goal this week, we'd be doing 2 times the expected move this week to the downside just to get to the bottom of my rectangle. So just definitely keep that in the back of your mind. I think these are your critical levels here. If anything 40, 80 and higher, you short, and anything 37.25 and lower, you still got to edge to the long side in the markets. Okay, so I've been saying since October that I thought we would be migrating close to 3,900 to finish the year out, somewhere around the 3,900, which I don't know if that's going to be the case. I mean, we could be, but it does seem like we're starting to pin price somewhere here in this zone to finish the year out. Now, looking forward in the markets. Okay, so what do I think is going on here? So if we break this, okay, and looking forward into next year now, uh, So I'm always trying to forecast where the next pivot points are setting up to go. Okay, I'm actually looking for our next pivot point to migrate down to 3,600. Okay, so let's just definitely keep this in mind here. If that pays out, so we're 3,900 right now. That would put us the next pivot down to 3,600. If that, all my fib arcs would migrate lower into the first part of the year. Okay, and by coming down to 3,600, that starts to open the door for these swing lows now on a horizontal basis. If you were to do that, you see right now that right there, that fib arc is targeting right there. Okay, and if I put a little line on here, trim line right here, okay, bottom of that arc. So what we're starting to see is the potential for 3,200 if this thing continues to migrate lower. So, I could go through a lot of different charts and then tell you a lot of different things about the market. But, what I am seeing here is the possibility that we are going to be starting the year uh, setting up for me to get rid of this fib arc and migrating my fib arcs lower. Okay, uh, probably to the 3,600. For what I'm seeing here, I'm seeing a lot more unity around 3,600 at this point, and that would be our new pivot point. We're probably going to be going above and below to 3,600 the first part of the year. So that's what I'm thinking we are developing here in the markets. Okay, and then again, we might just completely fall out of bed. So, Japan's in a lot of trouble here, and that's what I've been really watching. If things start to come unraveled in Japan, it's going to bleed into the rest of the world. So, just keep that in mind. That's one of my main hot spots that I'm keeping a close eye on in the Japanese market. Okay. Okay, some other things I'm looking at today. Okay, so bottom line is I've got a wedging formation going on right here. Okay, and I like seeing things in this was the bearish side of the wedge versus the 3,900. Now, and that was rejected. So now I would think we would be looking for the bearish side of the wedge. And what I did, I had all these unity points coming in together, creating a pivot at this point right here. I drew a line to that over to our current pivot. And that suggests to me this week there's a pretty substantial odds here that we could be hitting the 3760 retest this week. So so that was my primary thesis here for the week, that at some point this week that we will be probably testing 3760. So I do want to keep that one. That was one of the crucial things that I wanted to mention here. And I like this for the unity part. I like, the fact that we've tested the upper side of the wedge. Now we can test the bottom side of the wedge, to try to, so just keep that in mind going into this week. And then I have a wedge. This here is a megaphone pattern. Okay, and this is what we've been trading. Another thing that we've been trading against this week. Okay, and so basically we had PPI came out on what day was that? 11/15. So that was November 15th. We had PPI come out, and from the moment the news came out to the swing high of that move, that's how I anchored this megaphone. And look how it is playing out here on this megaphone, completely rejecting it and stuff. So we do have our first uh, closing prints outside of this megaphone formation, suggesting relative more weakness in this pattern right here. But so far this morning, we got a little bit of bid in the markets. It's not great, but we do have a little bit suggesting they might be trying to save this particular megaphone pattern. So just keep that in the back of your mind here. This could be, they're trying to come in here, uh, you know, first thing like 3908 or 3910 area, maybe initiate a little bit of short exposure just in case that they want to break this down. If you see this trend right here, I'll zoom. you see what we've done right here. This was a viable dip area. If we can get back above this trend, and today around what time would that be? Let me zoom in here. That had to be 4 hour. I had to go down on a 2 hour, I guess. 1 second. And if we come into tomorrow's session, we know for a fact around 9:30 we need to hold prices. We need to start accepting prices above 39.10 to save this prior trend. And so far this morning, we're not even saving that prior trend. So I would not be surprised to see us coming up to 39.10 for a back test, and then later, or later today, into the late afternoon, possibly reject that. So definitely keep that as a very real scenario. Okay. Okay, one final takeaway that I want you guys to really consider before you start thinking about buying a dip in this market. Uh, you see how we came up. Uh, this is our 50-week moving average, simple moving average. Okay, we came up, just missed it right here, and we sold off. Had a really deep sell down, all the way down below 3,500. Okay, and had that little wick right there. Okay, and so I held really good there. So this time, I want to point out here how hard that we rejected that 50. We actually did a hard test at that 50 SMA and a very hard rejection this time. So what I'm seeing here is sell side action is actually picking up. Okay, my main takeaway right here, right now, because on the weekly, this rejection here was nowhere even close to the mean of our Andrews pitchfork. Okay, this rejection here literally just blew right through the mean of our Andrews pitchfork. So be very mindful of that. We're on the bearish side of our Andrews pitchfork to start the week. Okay, so we've actually literally got to run back up to the 38, yeah, over 38.80 here on SPX, 38.80. So you're still 30 points higher just to get back to the mean of our for the week, for our trend mean for the week. That just be mindful of that on SPX here. Now I switched from ES to SPX because this is where it's really showing up. The moving averages are kind of messed up because of the roll in the futures for the futures contracts. But this is quite um, something to be very mindful just how hard we are rejecting away after a hard test, which we actually missed it last time, but and the relative sell down was started out fairly weak. This time it's not starting out fairly weak, so be very mindful of that scenario. So be very careful, guys. Okay. Thanks for watching my video.